Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at Dior's Golden Nights collection. This is what they've released for the holidays. Along with this whole collection, they did release two eyeshadow quints. You guys, their quints have been very popular as of late, ever since they redid the formulation. So what I have here is the Black Night color story. So this is one of the two quints. I do have the other quint, which is Golden Show, on its way. I ordered this quint off of Selfridges from the UK when it was first released, but the Golden Show quint was already sold out. So I guess you could say from that, one palette is more popular than the other, but both of them did grab my attention when I first saw it. It has something to do with this kind of snowflake embossing here, so pretty. But I also enjoy a good smoky color story here. You've got blue, black, silver, and this pop of burgundy, and I think it just looks gorgeous. So gorgeous. Nothing says winter, frosty winter, more than this palette, I think. So the look that I did today from this palette, I do have as a demo later on. We're first going to take a look at swatches, and I'm actually going to compare this quint to the other Dior quint that I have. This is in the color story Denim. I want to talk a little bit about the packaging, where the products are made, because these palettes are actually not made in the same country, as well as the quantity of the product. I can't tell you why the difference between the two, but the formulation is very obvious that it's different. So we'll swatch it against the shades here. If you're somebody who enjoys deep blues, smoky eyeshadows, you might actually be drawn to this palette as well as this one. So maybe with this video, you can figure out, or maybe have a better idea of which one you might end up enjoying more should you choose one of the two. So before we get into swatches, let's just talk about some of the product specs. The palette here is made in Italy, and then this one here is made in France. The palettes and how they feel are actually different as well, even though the design seem to be, or look to be, exactly the same. This one is heavier because there's actually more product. So the 5 shadows here combined gives you a 0.24 ounce or 7 grams of product, whereas the Winter Collection quint has 0.14 ounce of product or 4 grams. And I gotta say, I think even the plastic might be sturdier on that fall release palette than the winter one. It just feels different. Like even the materials, the packaging itself feels different. I don't think this takes away from the enjoyment of the product itself. I actually like the formulation of these shadows more than this. They're both good, but I like this a bit more. Well, why don't we do some swatches and we can talk about the formulation, all of that in a bit. I have the 5 shadows on my fingers, and you can see they all have some kind of shimmer to it. The one that's closest to a matte, or I would say a satin matte, is this black here. And that's the one right here. This one looks very close, and actually I think the tone, the undertone is the same. That's this shade here, but you're seeing some blue being reflected off because it could have a bit of a blue undertone, but I think the bigger ingredient at play is there are blue shimmery specks in the shadow. Kind of black metallic shade that has blue silver shift to it. This is the matte black. And this is the deep burgundy purple. And then this is the kind of deep blue metallic. And we have the silver. The silver is very buttery. It looks like you can have a pretty long, lengthy swatch from it. What I noticed right away when I went into this palette is how little kick up. And I haven't cleaned anything off, but you can see I've got some silver here and here, but there's barely any transfer of these shades onto the other parts of the palette. So that's really impressive. When I dug my brush in, same thing, very, very little kick up. And I think people are really gonna appreciate that because it's really annoying when you have shadows kind of bleeding into each other, especially when they sit in such close quarter. So that I already really, really like about this formulation. And I think these are big jelly formulas because of how creamy they feel, but how packed into the pan they are, which helps with very little kick up. Now let's swatch the Denim Quad. Here are the shades on my fingers. There might be some similarity in this deep blue here compared to the blue, so I'll just swatch it underneath. To the naked eye, I would say one is definitely more blue and the other was kind of like a gray, blue, black. From the Denim Quad, we have this shade here that's a bit more blue, like a royal blue. And then this here is definitely deeper, smokier. Then we have this pretty light blue, followed by this kind of forest green metallic. You know, it does shift kind of like a gray and black. Then we have a deeper green metallic that also has a very similar shift. And then finally we have that champagne shade that's right in the center of the palette. I feel like these colors are on kind of the same spectrum, but this definitely has more green and more blue, lighter blue. This one is just on the other side, deeper, closer to the grays and blacks. My pet peeve, this light shade here is right in the center, and the kick up that you get from these colors will bleed into this. So unless you're very, very careful, you can kind of see it has some of the blue from here, has some of the blue from here. Unless you're really careful, it's difficult to avoid. So I think the expectation is go in with your brush, kind of wipe it off before you actually apply that shade, depending on how you want to use it. If you want to use it as a brow bone highlight, inner corner highlight, definitely try to find a clean area. But if you're going to use it to pop it on top of the lid, maybe you don't care so much that it has some of the other shades bleeding into it. But this brings me to my point of this formulation has more kick up. It's not bad, and it doesn't really stop you from enjoying the palette, but it just has more kick up than the holiday collection, the Black Knight. And the other thing I wanted to show before we head to the demo is the kick up that I'm talking about. You can also see it in the swatches, it's visible. These ones here are all pretty smooth as I kind of drag them across. And from the denim palette, still pretty smooth, it's still good quality eyeshadows. This blue here, this here, this is actually product that, you know, didn't glide smoothly across. Again, the performance of the shadows are good on both palettes. It's just you get more kick up from one over the other. Let's head on to the demo. We're going to take this deep berry color here and we're actually going to pack that onto the lids. And now we're going to blend. All right, so I got a lot of pigment just from going over this color with my brush 3 or 4 times on each side. And now that it's blended out, you could probably add a lighter shade to clean up, you know, make this a little bit more seamless. Add some eyeliner, mascara, and this could be a look in itself. So now we're actually going to try another shade here. I'm gonna go into this silver metallic. And we're gonna be light-handed because I just wanna make sure I don't get too much. We're gonna actually add that to the crease to buff it or blend it into that berry shade. I like how that looks. I think that first shade still looks a bit too concentrated. It's coming across as that over the camera. I'm gonna go in with this very fluffy blending brush, and this is Sonia G's Jumbo Blender, and I'm just going to move this or diffuse it a little bit more. And I'm gonna go in and add more of the silver here. I like how it, well, blends in really nicely with the other shade, and it does lighten everything up, give it more of a gradient look to it, and that's always flattering. Then I'm going to go in to the shade here. This one looks just as pigmented as the shade here. I'm going to dab a bit of the excess off on a tissue, and then we're going to add that to the outer corners. We're going to take the Jumbo Blender from before and buff this out. And I just want to fluff out the outer corners a little bit more. And we're going to use the help of this silver shade to do that. I'm going to add foundation, concealer, and then we'll come back for the rest. Now we're going to go back into this shade here, and I'm going to add some of that, light-handed this time, on the lower lash line. And I'm not going to even go too far from kind of this outer corner here, because then we're going to buff that out. I'm going to add some of this silver shade to the inner corners. This look is so smoky that I feel like any areas you could lighten up is really going to be beautiful and stand out from the other colors. And actually I'm going to add some silver to the lower lash line as well. I think it's so beautiful, the way it pairs with the smoky shades. It's like frosty and smoky at the same time. It's like the perfect winter combination. This is the finished look. What's really interesting about this look is on camera, the shadows, like everything that's on my eye right now seems so dramatic, it's so smoky, it looks so packed on that even though I've blended it out, I've added the silver shade, blended into the smoky, the deeper colors, it still kind of looks like, you know, maybe it could be softened up a little bit. But off camera, just looking at it under natural light or incandescent light to my vanity mirror on the left, you can see much more of the textures of the shadows. So that's the kind of reflective little sparkle flecks of silver, white, and blue. So the look overall comes across more naturally, or a soft smoky look rather than this like very dramatic blown out smoky eye. And it's really interesting, and it's really hard to describe like this, because when I think back to the Denim Quint from Dior, which I have right here, this was sort of the opposite. In person, it was just really packed on, and I couldn't blend it out enough without actually having to wipe some off to make it look more palatable in person and more of like a natural look, rather than just like you've just added a bunch of eyeshadows on there from this palette that, you know, doesn't look blended into or blended out very nicely. But on camera, it looked pretty good, actually. You can really see the differences between each of the shades. So yeah, very interesting. And the formula between the two Quints, which I talked about at the start of this video, is different. The Black Knight, which is what I have on, does not have any kick up. Like there might be just a little bit, and that is totally different from my experience working with this Quint. So I thought I'd just mention that again. And the reason why I chose to go with berry shades or purpley shades for blush and lips is inspired by that burgundy berry shade from the Quint. And I thought this was perfect that they put this color right in the center, and it really, really caught my eye, which is why I wanted to sort of bring that back out, bring that color back out from the eyes, and use a lipstick that has purple and pink in it. And for the blush, same idea here. I use Suku's holiday palette, one of their 2 blush palettes that they released for the holidays. I use this shade here along with this highlighter, and both have kind of a purple pink undertone to it. And I think it goes well. It's a different look. I think this is a very holiday party look as well, because you've got, you know, the red, the purple, the pink, along with a smoky eye. So I'm happy with how the look turned out. I also changed my top because I felt like the blue denim top didn't really make this look stand out as much as it should. Again, this top also reminds me of the holidays, and is something I would probably wear to like a holiday house party, for example. So I wanted to put a different shirt on just to like give you guys more of a completed look with the top included. So I had fun trying out this Quint with you guys today. I really enjoy this look, and I'm gonna definitely wear it if I have a chance to go anywhere with it during the holidays. If you like it, I would definitely try to get your hands on that. It may be a good holiday gift as well. And if you are thinking, because you're drawn to blue, green shades, you know, dark blue, deep greens and things like that, you might actually be looking at these 2 at the same time and wonder which to get. Both of these, you can create very smoky looks from them. This one is probably going to be overall more dramatic than anything you can get out of here. And this is definitely lighter blue and green leaning, whereas this is deep blue, a deep kind of purple shade with black and silver. So if it helps any to know, this is a holiday collection. If it sells out, they're likely not to make any more, whereas this one here looks to be part of what will be a regular line of colors. Again, I think that is also subject to change depending on how popular a particular color story is, but I think you can get this well into next year. Whereas this, if it sells out, we just don't know if they're gonna restock it, even if it goes as quickly as the end of this month or next month. So thank you for watching. I do have the Golden Show palette from the same Dior holiday collection on its way. If you haven't already, ring the bell to get notified every time new content is released. Take care. Bye.